So if I can do that through technology and preparation and messaging and automation, anybody can do it.
Hey, it's Deb, and this is Happy Hour with Deb, and we have the honor and the privilege of having Mr. Bill Faeth with us. How big is this Airbnb industry right now in this country?
I don't know the exact numbers. It's in the billions. It's massive.
Yeah,
I mean, I did $2.4 million last year in gross revenue off of 13 properties, did 1.1 million net income. I have no desire to own 50, 60. So what I do is I model my portfolio. I want to make the most amount of money with the least amount of properties.
Right.
So I actually had 12. I bought my 13th 2 months ago. My goal is to only have between 8 to 10.
Right.
So I follow Mike McCulloch's pumpkin plan methodology. You kill the small pumpkin to make room for the medium-sized pumpkin to grow into a big pumpkin. So I do what's called a return on equity audit every 6 months. And if my return is not going to hit my equity in 4 to 5 years, then I sell that property, tap into the equity, and buy a bigger place. Yeah, so that's how I make so much money keeping this down. I created, almost unknowingly when me and my wife started this, it's what I call the 550-250 plan. This is what I teach people. With one investment, now those of you that have like 10, 20,000 bucks, or you only have 100,000 in your Roth IRA, I do not want you to go and tap into that and like use all of your life savings. I want you to be very conservative of how you invest. But I can take somebody and literally teach them how to make one investment. My wife and I started with $126,000 investment. We now have $19 million.
Because in this world, that's not a huge amount of money anymore.
It's relative, right?
It's sad. I mean, that's sad and heartbreaking, but I mean, true. I bought my first house for $75,000, which now is like a car.
Yeah, so if you take, so like, I'll use the Banner Oak, North Carolina, second property, really the third one I bought there, 670. So instead of trying to negotiate them down to 650, 640, I said, hey, I'll take a $20,000 seller credit and give you full price, 670.
Right.
Done. Okay, cool. So now I'm paying 670. I do a 10% down second home loan. Right, so I'm at 67 grand, 3% to close. Let's just call it 72,000 bucks to close.
Right.
Well, now there's my whole design and renovation budget is in that 20 grand
that
I get back from the seller in cash.
Right.
And so I go and I do that, and I don't have to put $100,000 or $125,000 in. So here's the deal: that property you can walk to the village of Banner Elk. That property has amazing views of the village of Banner Elk and into the mountains and Sugar Mountain, which is lit up during the winter, right?
Beautiful.
It's awesome. So it gives me marketability.
Right.
So most people don't find the hole in the market. I found the hole in the property. You know, this was a second home. It was not a short-term rental, listed by an agent in Charlotte. Probably never even drove over there and saw the property. And the owners had taken the basement master suite, and they were using a 9-foot by 11-foot bedroom that had a closet in it and an egress window as a closet. They probably spent 8-10 grand turning it into a closet.
Right.
You know what that is to me? It's a fucking bedroom.
Yeah, right.
So that 670 now means that property's worth right off the bat like 710 to 715.
Right, because now you can get more people in it.
And AirDNA, STR Insights, Rabu Matchvisor, all the data tools are saying, Bill, you can only do $80,000 a year in this property. That's a shitty investment at $670,000 in my opinion.
I agree.
For me, it's pretty decent for everybody else. So long story short, I'm gonna do 145 to 155. I found an extra bedroom. I've got the views, I've got the proximity. You can walk to the village. There's only 2 other properties on Airbnb and Vrbo that are even decent. They're not a super property like what we've done that can walk to the village. That's my hook. That's my positioning. That's all my marketing is, walkable to the village of Banner Elk. Find those things and you cannot go wrong. I'm insulating myself, right? And that gives me the ability to charge more.
And that's very pivotal for people to understand too when you're doing, property investment, is that it's not just the house, it's the location. Like, where do people want to be? Nashville is now surpassed Vegas for like bachelorette parties.
They've been the #1 bachelorette destination in the world for 3 years.
I mean, that's a market. That's why you paint the cabinets pink. That's
why I don't invest here.
Right. Oh, nothing in the area.
No, I don't invest into Nashville. One, it's the politics have been really, what's the word that I'm looking for? Across the board, It seems like there's a bill that's coming in like almost monthly to the city council to make revisions to the existing rate. It's too volatile from a regulatory standpoint. So I've never invested here into short-term rentals. I built Gold LEED certified commercial buildings here. I've done, condos and long-term rents before I switched everything to short-term rentals. But I don't want to say I will never invest here. It's just too volatile for me
right now.
Right. The other thing is I don't want to clean up sex toys and glitter and, bodily fluids and stuff that go on at bachelorette parties and all that. I'm dead serious.
Yeah, no
That's
doubt.
just, I want it to be easy. I'm 50. If I was 25 and trying to hook up with the bachelorettes or whatever, it might be a little bit different. Well, I got married when I was 24. So honey, what if I was 21 before I met you? It's not what I want.
Because the wealthy Wendy doesn't do that. The wealthy Wendy shows up.
We have our fair share of problems once in a while, but it's never wealthy Wendy.
Do you manage all them?
I self-manage everything remotely.
Wow.
So I have 7 businesses. I own 13 properties. I also co-host 11 additional super properties all over the country, 7 different states. And I'm a father, and I travel a lot, and I speak a lot, and I have a coaching business, and I run the biggest conference in the industry, and I'm getting ready to do a 17-city global tour this summer.
Fantastic.
So if I can do that through technology and preparation and messaging and automation, anybody can do it. So
the drivenness too.
Really, that part's really just the setup part. There's a lot of people, I'm a doctor, I'm in surgery, I can't invest in the short-term rentals, and I can't make any money if I pay a PM. You do not need to pay a property manager. I will teach you for free. Go to my Build Short-Term Rental Wealth Facebook group. You'll see 32,000 people in this group that learn for free. And I will teach you, I'll give you the technology, the automation, the messaging, everything you need to be able to be in surgery and not have to worry about it.
Right, because that's truly, real estate, that investment is never going to go away in this world. That's just what you have to invest in some form of real estate at some point.
I took that first $126,000, Deb, and my wife and I have turned that into a $19 million. That's the market value of our 13 properties. We only owe $3.7 million on
That's
that.
amazing.
So do the math.
That's right.
Now we built the life plan, so we've hit our financial freedom, but there's still life components that play into that, right? So we can't retire until our youngest daughter graduates from high school. She's a freshman, so we got 3.5 years. So I strategically have invested.
3.5 years and you're only 50 years old.
That's correct.
That's a bravo.
Financially free at 48.
That's fair, bravo.
But that's what I want people to understand. It's not, the life plan isn't just about the finances.
No.
I'm probably gonna have to take care of one of my in-laws, either, my mother-in-law or my father-in-law.
Okay.
We had some health scares with my father-in-law, so that ties into the life plan.
Absolutely.
So once my youngest daughter graduates and goes to college, then my wife and I have way more freedom than we have today. We got soccer tonight. I've got a mastermind meeting
I know.
tonight.
I was talking about the last guest. I'm like, then you reconnect. Like, you're already a power couple and doing everything. Like, imagine how much you're going to reconnect.
100%.
When it's just the two of you.
Yeah.
You can bump that 3 times.
I don't know that
6 times a week for sex.
For us, I don't know that we will reconnect. We are not disconnected at all.
That's
because of the life plan.
Yeah.
Right. So remember, we're intentionally taking time for ourselves.
Yeah. That's incredible.
And honestly, I think it's just because we've molded everything together. It's all integrated.
Right.
So we only take on, the reason I would never take on a property, like a bachelorette targeted property in downtown Nashville, I could make some good money and I could probably outmarket everybody else in that market.
Sure.
I don't want to deal with the headaches.
Right.
So I'm looking for the easy button.
Quality
when
of
I make
life
an investment. 100%.
over short-term cash.
Absolutely. So this is not, a lot of people think, oh, Bill, you're a snake oil salesman, you talk fast, you're loud, you got whatever.
That's not nice, Bill. We don't think
you
that.
get wealthy slowly.
Yes.
You don't get wealthy quickly.
Exactly.
That's why even the 550-250 plan, 1 investment, 5 properties, you commit to only selecting properties that can do $50,000 a year net income.
Right.
And at the end of 5 years, you have $250,000 in income.
Right.
Not gross, income. But you can't do that in a year or 2. It's too risky.
It is.
Right?
Yeah, you have to. This is a process.
And this is the best time to do it because interest rates are
Do you see people just jump
still up.
in with no knowledge, like just go in and just...
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
That's what gives people like us that do our research first, that are always getting our education on, a competitive advantage.
Who's your ideal coaching client?
My ideal coaching client, so I have a big mastermind group that's like experienced and 10 properties, 100 properties, all that type of stuff.
And that's fantastic too, because everybody needs a coach, like we know.
Agreed, yeah. My ideal client is in my inner circle. It's 0 to 5 properties. And ideally for me, I would love to get my hands around somebody before they buy their first property, because most of us make the mistake in property number 1 or number 2. And if we make the mistake in property number 1, then we never get to number 2 and we're done.
Absolutely.
If we make a median purchase in property number 1 and we're not generating positive cash flow, you do the wrong type of financing on the property, so you're not having debt pay down to increase your delta and your equity.
Now you're adding debt to the debt you came in.
Yeah, then you never get to number 2.
Yeah, never.
So
never.
I lost over $100,000 on property number 2. I had a great property, my whole case study. I launched this whole business off my very first property.
And where was that property?
That was in Fort Morgan, Alabama.
Okay.
It was a beach house. But then property number 2, I just did everything wrong. I'm literally sucking down beers in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl, watching the Preds play the Dallas Stars. It's like period number 2 of the Winter Classic.
Right.
Yeah, okay, video walkthrough. Just call me at this time. I called him in between the second and third period. I got like 20 minutes. Okay, looks great. Let's do it. Send me the contract. Sign the contract.
Right.
Ended up losing like $100,000.
Thank God you had beer though.
Yeah, it was. It was fucking cold. It was January 1st, sitting outside. But
the beer probably helps soften the.
That was when I started learning about that. I got lucky in the selection for the first property.
Right.
And I made a mistake. 1, I didn't see the property personally. 2, I really didn't do any research. 3, I trusted an inexperienced agent.
Right.
Then Hurricane Sally came and that impacted. Just a bunch of shit happened. But that
I
set
don't
me
think
back
there's
2
not
years.
a real entrepreneur that hasn't skinned their knees.
100%. That set me back 2 years.
Yeah, I bet.
2 years.
It's a lot of money.
We had to grow out of cash flow. I mean, I made the commitment to my wife. So, and this was the most money I'd ever put in to start a business. I mean, remember those 50 million, 30 million?
Yep.
I never invested over $100,000 ever.
Right.
It was always 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. I've never had to make this big investment. I've never acquired a company. I've only sold. So it was a big deal for us. She's like, if we're going to spend this amount of money, it wasn't a lifestyle asset. It was an investment first that then we kind of used as a lifestyle asset.
Got it.
Most people are not in a financial position to invest into a lifestyle asset until they've gone through like the 550, 250 program.
Right, exactly.
If you're in a household income of $400,000 a year and you don't have at least $500,000 in savings and retirement in your Roth, your SEP, whatever you're doing, you have no fucking business buying a lifestyle asset that's $400,000, $500,000, $600,000.
Right, especially now with the economy being so a mess.
But if you can make financially driven decisions, and here's the key for our life plan. When I tell you about Banner Elk, North Carolina, I own a place south here on Smith Lake, the second clearest lake in the south. My wife and I were there this weekend. We've got the beach properties.
That's great.
Phoenix, Arizona. We got 2 in Montana now. 1 at the entrance to Glacier. The other one's on a river. It's incredible. We have strategically invested where we want to spend our retirement.
Yes.
And I have what I learned from Reg Booth, who was my partner in my Glow Golf business. He was the second franchisee into Pizza Hut. And I call him, the half billionaire. He's worth like over $500,000 or $500 million bucks. And his partner, Bill Bennett, and him had over 200 Pizza Huts at one time all over the country.
Wow.
And they built in clusters. So they would go in and they would have 3 within a 10-mile, 15-mile trade radius.
Wow.
Starting in the early 70s. They just sold everything. They sold their last, I think it was 20, like in 2007, 2008.
Wow.
I said, well, so what was the plan?
And that's a brand, right? Everybody knows them.
But here's the deal. They had an assistant manager in each location and 1 district manager. They never had to pay a general manager in any of their locations.
Keep your costs low, right.
I said, how much money did that save you over that 40-year period?
Right.
He's all, we estimate somewhere between $70 to $80 million.
And that's another thing with entrepreneurs too, that it's really hard to navigate who's the right person for that cost to get and what is the mandatory. I mean, I say to my assistant, I'm like, when we're going through a list of priorities, I'm like, the priority is what's going to make us money today. Back burner everything else. We'll get to it. The priority is who can we start generating money from? And that's the priority. But I think a lot of people get caught up in that too.
I kind of look at it similar but different. I look at building a funnel, right? So I want money today, but I'm looking more long-term of sustainability. Right. And that's kind of why I navigate to that higher echelon, because the wealthy people are always, most of them are always going to be wealthy. So and they'll spend on things that other people won't spend on. But it's also, how do I create reoccurring revenue?
Right.
That's the big thing that when I was about 30 to 33, I kind of learned that reoccurring revenue is Willy Wonka's golden ticket. It's
Truth,
not the one-off or the lifetime.
Because then you're not chasing the next dollar constantly over and over.
Because then you can focus on relationship,
yes,
product, service, delivery, and retaining
and
customers.
aligning yourself with the right people.
Well, and I think one of the fundamental mistakes that young or inexperienced entrepreneurs make is they're always trying to figure out how to sell to new customers, as opposed to figuring out how to retain your existing ones.
That's me too. Like, you got to, we want these for
more
life.
money out of their wallet.
Yes. Well, there's only a couple of ways to get money. So you definitely want it from the ones who are following you already.
Agreed.
100%. Let's talk about this. I'm intrigued by this, like, couples retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about it. So is your wife on it with you?
Yeah, 100%.
So do you do all the speaking?
No, she does it too.
That's great.
She's not a public speaker. I mean, the last couple of years, she's come out of her shell. She's very reserved. I've actually put her on my big stage at my conference that we have 2,500 people at.
That's awesome.
Good for her. She's getting a little bit more comfortable with that, but she's been with me at I've done 4 couples retreats. She's been with me at every one. She's a really important part of it because, she's the validation for everything that we do. And then she's kind of the cornerstone that holds me and will say, yeah, he was out doing all this stuff. We didn't have a vacation for 5 years.
Right.
We'd go months without having sex, all this type of stuff.
Right.
And then
real life problems that you never hear people talk about.
Because they're afraid to talk about it.
Absolutely. No one wants to say that,
if you don't talk about it,
it never fixes itself.
100%.
Yeah, totally agree.
It doesn't matter if I fucked up at something or if I've been uber successful at another thing. At least that's the way that I teach, I coach, or at least just even build relationships. You can't just learn off the positives. You have to learn off the negatives.
It's what gets you to keep going and growing. I mean, if not, if you think you're doing everything right, you're going to hit a bump in the road.
100%. So the couples retreat is all about the life plan. Wow. It's all about getting them aligned when they're there. So I take everything that I've learned from John Baird in 2015 and that my wife and I have put into practice over the last 8 years. So every program, every high-end program that I have, my Host Academy, which is $385 a month, monthly recurring revenue.
Right.
My Inner Circle, which is for the newbies, those 0 to 5 property owners.
Right.
That's $7,500 for a year for a mastermind.
Yeah.
My $20,000 big mastermind that's been sold out for 3 years. Every single one of those programs starts with a life plan.
Yeah, that's great.
Because there's something about knowing and being known. I believe, and that's where I think coaches that don't understand this part of it are just fucking reckless, and they shouldn't be coaching, to be honest with you.
Right.
If I don't know everything about you, I really can't coach you. I have to take a step back, and I have to practice Gestalt, and I can only give you an experience share. Right. So once it's what knowing and being known, once I know what your goals are, once I know what you struggle with, that everything, the good, bad, and the ugly.
Do you break this down with couples when they come in?
1,000%. I break it down.
I want to do a pop-in.
Even singles that are in my mastermind groups and stuff. I have to do that with them because I feel that I have a responsibility to know them, or I just can't tell them to do something. And you do as a
coach. I feel the same way.
Yeah,
like
100%.
It's my job. I'm not doing them the best service if I'm, you're wasting your money.
Absolutely.
If we're not doing that. So what is it like to get couples in and just break that down? Is everybody leaving there like, whoa, that was the best 3 days of my damn life?
I have never had one complaint. Everybody, we do exit interviews with them and stuff. Everybody uses the word transformation, eye-opening. I'm sure there's probably been 1 or 2 out of the 50, 60, 70 that we've done that probably said, you know what, that's not for me or whatever.
Do you structure it like a little kind of mini vacay? So you do sessions in the morning and yeah.
That's why we're going to Puerto Rico. We're all staying. And one of the big things
love Puerto Rico. It's so much fun.
So I've never done this at a boutique hotel. It's usually about 8 couples, 10 couples in a very large short-term rental, Airbnb, because that communal standpoint is critical. So they're bonding and sharing the real stuff with the other couples I pair them up with. At dinner.
And that's all great for them to be able to share stories and
because they're all
ideas.
on a very similar path, right? It's why I don't bring in people like this is just people that are invested or want to invest into real estate, right? I'm not bringing in just doctors that aren't in this or whatever. So they have to have that commonality to be able to bond. It's like you said, we'll be in the morning and then we'll have an excursion in the late afternoon and the evenings. Could be a cruise around Puerto Rico. I think the second day, actually, we have like a personal shopper or something for the ladies.
That's fantastic.
And all the ladies are going to go do one thing. And then the guys, I haven't figured this out. We're either probably going to go play golf or fishing or whatever.
Yeah.
But we will separate them a little bit because
Right.
that's when they will finalize their plan and they will talk. The ladies will talk to the other ladies. Well,
Absolutely.
I think my husband wants to do this, but I want to really do that.
Right.
And then the guys will be
Right.
having that same
And that's
discussion
support
together.
from other people.
100%.
You know, that's
because
great.
then the
now
last
you're
thing they
building your
do is they
support.
come together because they're working individually on things, and they work as a couple, but they're told not to share. So they have their own workbooks, and then they understand. We set the ground rules at the very beginning. The very last thing we're going to do is come together, and then we'll have the closing dinner, and we're going to have all of you guys reveal what your life plans are to everybody that's in the group, which is pretty cool.
That is so cool to me.
So you know what happens out of that? The relationships that are built
Yes.
amongst themselves.
Yes.
have-
Friendships, networking.
They keep going.
Yeah,
it's
I
not
bet.
like they leave because they're sharing. There's crying. There's elation.
Well, it's raw. I mean, you know, it's raw.
There is.
Life is raw.
And
you know,
it's-
marriages are.
And it's a much softer me than what you see on, talking
Yeah.
about selling and investing and all that type of stuff. But it's transformational for people because very few people, what I've learned, have gone in and actually taken the time to decide what they want at the end of that rainbow,
Right.
let alone to put together a plan to architect it.
Right.
Because that's really what this is.
You know,
it's not
it's
even a
so
couples
true
retreat.
because things happen and you think you're on, and it's so hard. I mean, I'm very driven.
Yep.
And my husband he's a biomedical engineer, he's brilliant and he's great, but I'm a jumper. I'm a stone jumper, not a stone stepper.
Right.
And I think that scares the shit out of him.
It does.
But I'm sure it
Yeah,
does. I'm sure it does.
I can see that just based on his occupation.
Right, I'm not even kidding. You were probably going to be drinking wine with me in Puerto Rico. But I think it's also he's uncomfortable with the fact that I can go all in. Just you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's safer. Probably thank God for me.
Right.
But I mean, he plays it, and do you see a lot of couples like that?
Me and my wife are that way.
Right.
So I mean, I'm the guy that moves super fast. I believe speed is critical as an
Me
entrepreneur.
too. Me too.
But people see the public persona of Bill Faeth, and they probably think that some people classify me as too fast, reckless. They don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Right.
I do extensive research before I make any investment or any move. I just happen to do it quicker. I do it from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. in the morning when you're
Right.
sleeping, that type of stuff.
Right.
I'm the guy that Coach Burt would have loved because I'm the 12-year-old kid that would sit out when it was raining on a day like today shooting 500 free throws in my front yard, right?
Yeah, that is great. He would love that.
It's the same thing with this. So my wife, very similar probably relationship that you have with your husband. She's like, I trust you. I said, I don't want you to trust me. I want your feedback and your honest opinion.
Yeah.
We couldn't get to that point until we went through the life plan.
We've had this conversation too because, I believe we're here to live. We're here to fulfill our dreams and to maximize the most out of our lives. Is it the safest route? Sometimes not, but that's okay. And yeah, but he's the same. I know you're making the right decision.
So you said something that I think everybody needs to unpack. We all want to live our dreams.
Yes.
What me and my wife didn't know was what our dreams were because we'd already achieved everything we'd wanted.
Wow.
So we had to redefine those at the age of 42. Now, we weren't financially free at that point, but we had traveled, we'd had kids. I mean, the most important thing to us was faith, having young girls, or they were girls at that time, but our children to grow up. So I found that there was two things for me that I'd never really discussed with her or my girls at that point. And really probably just within the last 3 years. So it took another 5 to get there. One of the biggest things that I wanted to have happen, I've got an 18-year-old that's graduating from high school this year and going to Belmont University to become a surgeon.
Right. Amazing.
I wanted her to be self-confident because so many young ladies are not self-confident in their own skin. And I wanted to be financially literate.
Yes.
Those are two huge things for me. So that went on our list of what we wanted out of life.
Right.
But then
I have a daughter, and I'm like, I don't want you to ever depend on anybody for money or happiness.
Right, 100%.
You got to do this.
Self-esteem and self-confidence in kids in general is challenging these days, and it's about 10 times harder with girls, right?
Absolutely.
So that was a big deal for me. But then
because other girls are mean, just so you know.
100%.
Right, it's them.
Lindsay Lohan mean.
They're right. They turn on each other. That's the problem.
So we basically we went through this plan, and then we figured out what we wanted at the end of that rainbow. And here's the hard part for people. How are you going to live? Are you going to go do, just stay in the house that your kids grew up in and live there and just watch, soap operas all afternoon and spend no money? Or are you going to do...
We already did that. We're like, take your shit and get...
Yeah, are you going to do the world cruise? Are you going to fly private, first class coach, Southwest? You need to determine what your lifestyle, what you want it to be.
Right.
Not what you can afford today, what you want it to be. Right.
Absolutely.
And then as Grant Cardone says, 10x it, or at least double it.
Right.
So we determined where we wanted to live. So we started investing, bought real estate where we wanted to live. We didn't want to just stay in Nashville.
Right.
We wanted to be in Montana. We want to be able to go ski in Montana, spend summers in Montana, go to Arizona when it's cold to go play golf. We got the beach properties down here. We've got North Carolina. We got the lake property. So as your girls
get older, excuse me, and you have grandchildren, and then you're...
So that's a
I don't think anybody knows this plan thing. Like it's.
This is a really important thing, Deb, that you just said. Grandchildren.
Right.
So our plan, we've got a house worth about $2 million in Brentwood, Tennessee, 20 minutes south of Nashville.
Right.
We owe like $200,000 on it. So we have a lot of equity, and everybody's gonna say, well, how come you don't do a HELOC? Why don't you do a cash out refi? I don't need that money to do that. And I don't believe anybody should ever do a HELOC on their primary residence to make an investment. It's fucking stupid because if you make a bad investment, you're gonna lose your primary house.
Absolutely.
So here's the thing. We have exceptional places around the country.
Right.
We've taken our daughters, have been to every single one of them multiple times.
Right.
Which house do you guys want? Which is your favorite house? Which one do you think is home away from home?
Yeah.
None of them. This is where we grew up. This is where we want. This is where we want to be.
This is our holidays. Here's our Christmases, and
So ding, ding, ding. Light goes off. We had this conversation about 3 weeks after I told my wife I'm not spending $250,000 to put in a pool.
Right.
And so we put in a really nice $35,000 outdoor fireplace. That's really for mom and dad, not for the
That's
girls.
cool though. That's a nice thing to have.
I sat on this for probably 2 or 3 weeks, and then I sat down with Bria and I said, you know what? We have to win Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yes.
She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, when they have fucking kids and they're married, we have to win this. So we have to have the coolest house. And it's when we can't sell this because this is where they want to come back. They don't want to go to Montana for Christmas.
They want to bring their kids.
They don't want to go to the beach for Thanksgiving. Right. We go to our lake house.
They want their wedding pictures done in that house before they go get married.
So now what do you think I'm doing?
You're putting the damn pool in, aren't you?
100%. I was going to turn the movie theater into a massive wine cellar because I need a bigger wine cellar.
Right.
Not doing that now. No. It's going to stay. We'll probably upgrade the movie theater.
Right.
Get rid of the Star Wars stuff and the Pulp Fiction and bring the newer stuff in for them.
Let's fast forward our minds into this. Like when your grandchildren are sitting there in this theater, in this incredible, loving environment home, watching movies.
Yep.
That is going to bring you more joy.
But that's all part of the life plan and understanding it's not just about money and it's not what we want.
Right.
Right. It's what our children are going to want. It's what their children are going to want. It's we want the in-laws to come. If you want to win Christmas and Thanksgiving, you have to be very intentional about that before you make one of these decisions.
Absolutely.
Because the whole plan for us was always to sell this house because we don't need, a 7-bedroom house with just the two of us. Let's go find a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom so we have room for each daughter.
Right.
But it doesn't make sense for what we ultimately want to achieve. So we had to erase that line, and rewrite it in pencil again. No good entrepreneur actually writes a business plan in pen. They do it in pencil. Because it's always going to fucking change.
Right. Because if not, you scribble out in the pen, then the whole paper's fucked up. You can't see anything. But So that's amazing. And I think that's not what people know either. It's like, a lot of the things that I see entrepreneurs make the mistake at is that they're living for the next day, not for the big dream. Sometimes you just got to step out and let the chatter go and remember what the goal is.
And I think they look at that most of them look at the dream as a dream.
Yeah.
I look at it as a fucking the last page of the business plan.
Yeah, that's it. Like this will happen. That's who I am. I'm
because
like, it's not,
they don't put together the execution plan. They'll fill out, go to Google and hey, I need a business plan to start this. But okay, well then let's take the business plan and then what's the execution plan?
Right.
Right. So that's I think fundamentally what is missed by unsuccessful entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
What are you going to do every fucking day?
Right.
So, a lot of people, I built out a 90-day plan and a 6-month plan and a 3-year plan. Well, what's your fucking 1-day plan?
Right.
What's your 7-day plan?
Right.
If you can't do it today, how the fuck are you going to do something
in 90
days?
You're not going to do it.
I'm going to get my ass into the gym tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, the fuck I am. I'm going to eat pizza tonight. I'm going to drink a bottle of wine. I'm going to be hungover.
From my wine thing, right, exactly.
I'm going to sleep till 8 o'clock and I'm not getting in the gym.
Right. But you know, when you're at this point, when you've done as much as you've done, like, you can do that. You deserve it.
But here's the deal. I've been that fat dude.
Yeah.
I lost 70 pounds over the last 10 months.
Wow,
I was in the gym. Go and look at my
amazing.
Instagram stories. I was in the fucking gym at 5:45 this morning. Right? Lifting weights, walking on an incline on my treadmill, in the sauna, all planned out last night, written down.
Right.
How much time I have, what time I need to be in there, how much time I have to do the treadmill.
I'm the girl that has, like, wakes up, there's the workout clothes. There, like, I have a plan of what's going to be tackled.
But here's what I think is super important for you listening at home. I have this planner, and I believe in priorities, not task lists. But I also believe in setting the realistic expectation of what my start time is and what's my end time.
Right.
So like I knew that I had 45 minutes on the treadmill. I knew that I had 20 minutes to lift weights. And I knew that I needed 5 minutes, at least 5 to 7 minutes to cool down before I get in the 185 degree sauna.
Right.
And then if anybody's ever seen George Costanza sweating on Seinfeld,
right.
I need like 15 minutes outside to cool down before I even get in the cold shower.
Right.
If I miss that, I'm not here 20 minutes early. So I knew I had nothing else on my schedule this morning except for do that stuff and then be here for the 11 o'clock interview, right?
Yeah.
So if I go 5 minutes over on each one of those, I'm probably here right at 11, maybe even get stuck in traffic, I'm late.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because you do have to execute that way. And like, listen, we're all tired. People tell me they're tired. My clients are like, I'm tired. I'm like, who isn't? We're all tired.
If you're tired, then
but do you want to stay there? You're staying in that same You're gonna like.
You should be fucking excited every morning that you wake up.
Yeah, that's why I am. I'm like, let's go. It's another day. Let's keep going.
You know what one kills me?
No.
I don't have time.
You don't have time.
That's the adult version of the dog ate my fucking homework.
Right. Exactly.
It's a fucking lazy excuse that you're rationalizing mentally.
Right.
Because you don't want to fucking do something.
Right, exactly.
Don't ever fucking tell me I don't have time.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like,
I can't bring that up to my wife anymore. She gets pissed off at me when I say that.
I mean, to me, if it's a priority to move you to a direction, that is your time. Mm-hmm. That's what you need to be focused on. And people don't get that too, and they're prioritizing things that shouldn't be prioritized.
Agreed. That's why I kind of follow Warren Buffett's methodology.
Yes.
And like in my planner, I don't do tasks. I have 3 daily priorities, and they're all number 1. And you only fill out 1. And then once you complete it, you scratch it out, and then you fill out the second number 1.
Right.
You complete it, you scratch it out, then you fill out the third number 1.
Right.
The tasks many times cripple people.
Yes.
I've got 17 things that I have to do today.
Right.
Okay, well, I can't wrap my head around
and
17
they're giving
things.
half-ass energy to all 17 and not completing any.
All fucking in on number 1.
Right.
Set a start time and a completion time.
Yeah.
Don't just start doing it, because then you turn a 30-minute task into a 90-minute task.
Right.
Turn your phone off, turn the notifications on the computer off, and fucking execute.
That's great advice for people too. That in just any like routines, because I think we get, and that's how patterns form.
I remember that when I played golf growing up, and I went to UCLA on a full ride, dropped out after 3 months. My whole family was in education. I thought they were going to disown me. So I turned professional, started playing professional golf.
Wow.
And probably the best sports psychologist, Dr. Bob Rotella. I only met him in person twice. And one time he came to a tournament, and I literally had, if you remember that, like the old Sony Walkman back in the 80s and 90s.
Absolutely.
And I had the big, ear pods on, or I call them ear pods, but headphones on.
At that point, right? There's a
and I'm sitting there hitting putts, like 4-foot putts, and I'm in the groove. I'm fucking nailing it. Got Guns N' Roses playing or something.
Right.
And I remember somebody walked up behind me, just ripped the headphones off of my head. I turned around. Dr. Bob. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, are you going to wear fucking headphones when you're playing in the tournament tomorrow? No. Then why are you practicing now? You practice like you were competing in the event.
Absolutely.
Out here. Do you wear headphones every
Step
time
into that
every time
role.
you're putting at home? I said I always wear headphones.
Yeah.
He's like, hand me your Walkman. And he took my Walkman.
Wow.
He's like, I don't ever want to see you or hear about you practicing with headphones on.
Wow.
So like if you look at the top athletes
100%
in any profession,
focus.
And I grew up with the best athlete of our generation, and he never had headphones on. Why I didn't learn that at Tiger Woods.
Right.
Why we used to travel together. Why I didn't learn that from him
right.
was because I was just too young and stupid to pay attention to that small stuff.
We're our own worst enemies. We get in our own way.
Dr. Bob knew exactly what was going on. From a psychological standpoint, from a confidence reinforcement standpoint, he knows I'll be thinking subconsciously about that music tomorrow, and I won't have it.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
So that's what I look at.
Because your mind focuses on, it's patterned. We're all patterned behavior.
1000%.
So if you're waking up every single day late and not alarm, that's your new norm. Mm-hmm. If you don't break that pattern. It's so true, and that's how people get stuck.
I agree 100%.
Yes. All right. How can people get in touch with you? How can people get coached by you?
You can go to buildstrwealth.com or billfaeth.com. That's Faeth. Probably the easiest way. I pride myself on being one of the most accessible coaches, at least in my industry.
Yeah, that's great.
Bill Faeth 73 Faeth on Instagram. Probably the easiest way. Just shoot me a DM or something, and I can get you into whatever. Probably the best thing if you're looking to invest into real estate is my Build Short-Term Rental Wealth Facebook group.
Okay.
I've got 32,000 people in that group. It's very active. It's not the bitching and complaining type of Facebook group.
Right.
It's very we kick those people out. That's why it kind of stays small. No bots, no bitches.
Out.
And it's kind of there's two mantras that I live my life by, and one is give more than you expect to receive.
Always.
And that flows through that.
And don't take more than you ever give.
100%. So it's it's 30,000 givers in that group, which is pretty fucking
That
awesome.
is amazing.
That's awesome. We got like 11 moderators in there.
That's
along
incredible.
With myself. It's a great group, and that's probably one of the best places to get started. I mean, build STR Wealth, Bill Faeth. You can find me YouTube everywhere. I have 2 podcasts, STRnomics, STR Unfiltered. I'm just here about giving. I mean, I put out 4 YouTube videos every single week, 2 podcast episodes. In that group, you'll see Marketing Mondays we do for free every Monday, Superhost Sunday. It's in a secret location, so you have to text to be able to get into this.
That's
I put
awesome.
this out every Sunday. I believe
because your motivation is you're very motivating. It's inspiring to sit next to you because you're very motivating.
Well, thank you.
What about the treat?
For the couples retreat?
Yeah.
We haven't even announced that publicly, but by the time that you do,
drum roll, we're doing it right now.
Just go to buildshorttermrentalwealth.com and you'll be able to see
some of the details. How many couples do you take at a time?
Just 15. That's it. There'll be 30 people there, along with my wife, myself, my video team, and my COO that runs the event. And I'm going to have a very special, very, very well-known guest there that I cannot announce.
All right. Well, I'm probably going to be in the audience, so it's one better.
Awesome.
I'll figure
Love
it
to
out.
have you.
But yes. Bill, it was a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Thank you for
Thank you for
sharing
having me here in Dollywood Part 2.
Right?